Hi guys, I just got back from a brutal bicycle workout. If you can see, I've taken up cycling as a form of cardio just because it's fresh. I want to keep it unique and different. You got to keep it exciting sometimes. I just feel like that running in the Florida heat absolutely blows. And so cycling is a little bit better. And I like to do it in the morning too. So a little bit cooler out. I don't have a lot of time today, but I wanted to focus on a subject that I had been really thinking about recently. I've got my little journal here, my little notes that I kind of jot down whenever I'm feeling inclined to spread some wisdom or some thought process. The thing I want to talk about today is actually something that I sent out in my mailer yesterday, and it's talking about the difference between being hard on yourself and giving yourself some slack. Basically, grit versus grace. And it's something that I struggled for a long time. And the whole purpose of me talking about this is whether you fall on the side of the spectrum, and it might flip-flop or yo-yo, like mine usually does. If you fall on the side of the spectrum where you feel like you're beating yourself up all the time for not achieving things, I want to go through why you might be feeling that way and maybe some perspective shifts that can help you not feel that way, because that negativity can really drown you. And on the other side of the coin, the more positive, where you feel more inclined or more deserving of things than, quote unquote, you might deserve because of your effort level. That might put you over the edge on things that are not good for you. So I want to talk about that as well. There's a better way to say that, but once I get into the analogy, I think you're going to have a little bit of a better understanding. So basically, I have flip-flopped my entire life from going between extreme bouts of telling myself I'm a failure or I'm not good enough for achieving a goal that I put in my mind. And if you're a human, you more than likely put a very lofty goal above yourself or in the distance that you want to achieve. But you don't also give yourself the time to achieve that goal. Instead, what happens is you give yourself a very unrealistic time frame. You don't achieve this extremely difficult or unachievable within your given time frame goal, and then you beat yourself up about it and you feel bad. And then the negativity starts, and then you kind of get into a little bit of a rut. It's important to push yourself if you are ever in the situation where you want to better yourself. The betterment of yourself can look like a bunch of different things. Obviously, business name is Be Better at Fitness, right? I'm a wellness coach. I find that the catalyst of fitness is the best route to finding the better version of yourself through all the facets of your life. But if you're trying to get better at something, truly, you have to set realistic goals. And that applies to fitness as well. That applies to learning a new skill. That applies to anything. And it's going to be difficult, and sometimes looking into the reality or the perspective of what you're trying to achieve is important to find that accurate timeline. But one thing that really helps me is determining what percentage per day towards this new goal is acceptable. Most people think that they can give it their all every single day, in day in and day out, and achieve the thing that they want to do. When the harsh reality is we are humans. And survival, quote unquote, I'm talking waking up, brushing your teeth, getting ready for work, feeding the dogs, handling the kids if that's something that you guys deal with. That's quote unquote survival in this day and age takes up a big block of our time. And I used to have the perspective that the survival of myself or the survival of me just existing was a nuisance. But it is literally at our core the thing that we all do the most of. And so, and it's a long-winded way to get down to my main point, but first, just a quick tangent. You want to try to make that survival as enjoyable as possible and do the things that you want to do within that routine. But when you have this giant time block of quote unquote surviving in your day, you need to prioritize the things that are most important to you. And you also have to realize that there are some days that you just won't be able to get to it simply because there are other facets of your life that demand your time. And to speak on focusing on the positives here, many people they have an absolute vision. What do the Siths deal with? In absolutes. You've heard the quote from Obi-Wan Kenobi, only a Sith deals in absolutes. I'll do what I must. And then I'll quote the rest of it. Never mind. I could quote that entire line, but I'm not going to. You can't deal in absolutes of every single given day if you're not achieving something to the full extent that you think that you could achieve that said thing. Some people have a higher capacity on a daily basis to put towards their goals. You may only have 1%. And finding that percentage is important, because now what you can do is you can focus on what you can control, and of the things that you can control, did you put in the effort that is deserved with that spare time? So for example, I'm of the belief that if you're able to work on something that you want to achieve at least 1% per day, you are making progress. And then on days where you're able to give 5%, maybe 4% here, maybe you get a weekend day where you can put 20% towards it. These are all fake numbers, right? Whose line is it anyway? Fake numbers, nothing really matters. You finding your capacity to work on that thing is success. The teenager that doesn't have a full-time job, that doesn't have any responsibilities, is able to work on that skill or that hobby with significant more time and availability than you can. So why are you going to get upset with them when they might be better at you than something? You're living a whole life. You are in a different bracket. You may be in a different facet of your life. You may not have the same opportunities that they have. So focus on what you can control. And my advice would be kind of lower your expectations a little bit on what you can achieve when it comes to long-term goals in a daily situation. And remember that living also takes time, and living, existing, surviving is the whole point anyway. We are not made to just enjoy 1 hour of our day. You are made to enjoy every hour of your day. And sometimes it's harder than others, but it is still doable. And it's something that I try to preach, of changing your habits and changing your daily routines to something that you might be able to enjoy. So now talking about the other side of things. There are also a facet, or the other side of the loop, where you will occasionally feel like you need, oh, I deserve a treat. I deserve a sweet treat. We've all heard the saying, I deserve a sweet treat. Do you actually deserve a sweet treat? And this is where it gets difficult. We're humans. Life is a blessing. And we should be able to enjoy those things. However, if those sweet treats, if those forgiveness for not doing something that you should be doing, for those unreliant focus on your responsibilities, warrants you feeling negative about not doing the thing that you know you should be doing, that's not good. You need to go about achieving goals with some grace. You need to understand that most people can't go all in, but 1% is better every day. But if you're, like I said, if your sweet treat, or if your forgiveness for yourself of not working towards what you truly want is making you go into an emotional spiral after the fact of not liking what you chose to do, that was a replacement for your purpose. That was a replacement, a quick fix, a quick endorphin release for something other that you know you should have been doing. When you succeed at something and you achieve a goal and you feel good about it and you feel successful, that is something that people crave. And usually what will happen is when you go off of your scheduled routine or your normality, seeking for one of those, it just simply means that you are not as in line with your purpose, or perhaps the purpose that you're trying to achieve, that end result, which is what we usually get the most success or the most feelings of happiness from, is just farther in the distance than what you're willing to wait for. Delayed gratification, working hard towards something and not seeing the fruits of your labor for a long time, is a skill. You have to practice it. So again, when you feel the need of like, oh, I deserve this, I'm not saying that you don't. And doing those things is part of the human experience, but ask yourself if this is filling a void. Ask yourself if you were able to do something that is better for your goals. Ask yourself if you are missing out on something that you should be doing for a quick dopamine, a quick endorphin release, a quick feel good that's just not going to make you feel good later down the road. Use an example, recording videos like this. Sometimes I'm not as motivated as I am to talk about a subject, and it's difficult. And today I had this topic that I wanted to talk about, but sometimes motivation can be hard. And so I just told myself, hey, listen, instead of scrolling on your phone, let's set up the tripod. Let's record the video. Let's do what you want your purpose to be, how you find purpose in yourself. I have a fucking tattoo on my leg that literally says find purpose, because a few years ago, that was the mantra that I wanted to follow, because when I found and followed my purpose, I felt the best about myself. Before that, it was be better. If you guys don't know the story about my tattoos, maybe I'll talk about it at some other point. But the bands on my arm and on my thigh, they're literally words reflected to look more like a symmetrical pattern, but they are all meaningful. The be better mantra is the 1% every single day. It is the not 100% every single day, but of 100% of what I'm capable of doing today. It's doing the right thing when no one's looking. It is doing the things that you know are right in your heart and in your soul, and pushing towards a better version of yourself. Because as you grow and as you develop new skills and as you become a more refined, a more traveled, a more skillful, a more emotionally intelligent, a more emotionally available, a more cognitive, you develop yourself as a person. Some people are made and created with gifts. Everybody is a gift, but some people are just more gifted at certain things than others, and others just work their ass off for things. And so what I like to think is, if I put 1% towards myself every single day, that's compounding interest on me becoming the best version of myself possible. And guess what? Every year over year, I'm even more proud of everything that I was able to achieve the following year, because I lived every single day by the mantra, be better, even if it's 1%, even if it's 2%. So I think I got a little off topic on what I wanted to talk about, but the main point is ebbs and flows. Try to find and focus on the things in your life that are impacting you positively. I used to have a really negative focus on anything that wasn't my goal. So my goal was to get extremely fit. And so if there was a meal planned or a family outing or any kind of event that was not strictly focused on my fitness goals, I got so bent out of shape about it. I felt horrible because I would have to go just say to a family function where the food might not have been exactly what I wanted to be, and I would let that one thing ruin the entire time that I was there. The positive is you just got to spend some great time with your family, people that you don't get to see, the people that you love and are the closest to you the most. And when I say family, it doesn't have to be blood. It means the people that you care about. That's a positive. Sure, you may not have been able to go to the gym for an extra 30 minutes that day, but you made time at the back end of the day and you got to see your family. Maybe you really focused on your job and it drained you a little bit more than normal and your lift wasn't that great. You focused on your job. You got better at that skill in your job. You were able to provide more value there. You might be telling yourself, okay, but I don't want to do that. I would rather put the effort into the gym. But that doesn't mean that you can still discredit the effort that you put in. That's something that you should be proud of. If you focus on the only thing in your day that you aren't achieving, everything else that you did, everything else that you were able to do, no longer means anything. You need to find value in those things. I woke up and I biked for 20 minutes. Am I going to focus on the 40 minutes that I didn't bike because I didn't have the time? No, I'm going to focus on the fact that I still got a 5-mile, 20-minute ride this morning, and I'm able to sit down and now film this podcast and hopefully provide some value to people that don't have this mentality quite yet or are still trying to figure it out like I used to. And that's the whole purpose. It's the fitness thing is a journey by all means, but at its core, life can be experienced in different ways simply by changing your perspective. I thought it was some guru mumbo jumbo BS when you heard it back in the day, like your life is what you focus on. It is literally that. You have to train your brain to do that. I shout out my barber and very close friend Molly for this, because Molly seems to always have something in her life that is trying to keep her down. And she is one of the most positive people that I've ever met. And 2 years ago, when I found myself in a position where I was not the person that I wanted to be, so evolved around this negativity and only focusing on that, I really looked at her as a motivation and someone who I looked up to because of that facet of what she's able to do. And it's something that, everybody's going to still have days, but if I can be a little bit more like her every single day and have that positive outlook on life, then I'm even better. And guess what? You will always be happy. Sure, you might dip a little bit, but life is so much better when you focus on the positives. So that's all I got for you guys today. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hate saying give a like, subscribe. You do whatever you feel inclined and what you think I deserve, basically. But I'm just here to hopefully provide some value. So thank you guys so much for watching. James out.